All right. Well, I guess first on the agenda is welcome and introductions. I think everybody, well, we may have some new people. If everyone wants to show their shining faces, that would be great. We have some new people with us. So maybe we should just quickly do introductions. So I'm going to ask Christopher to introduce himself, and I'm going to call out on people.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris James. I'm with the W. Haywood Burns Institute. We're a national nonprofit based in Oakland who do justice transformation work, specifically around creating race equity in justice systems, both for youth and adults. And we serve as consultants with the Racial Justice Oversight Body, and thus with all of its subcommittees, which is why I'm here.
Thanks, Chris. Dante, you want to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dante Blue. I'm currently the acting director of our Office of Reentry and Justice here in the county, which is a unit inside of the probation department. The reason I'm here is providing staff support to the oversight body and its subcommittees.
Thank you, Dante. Melvin.
Good afternoon. I'm Melvin Russell. I'm the Assistant Chief Probation Officer.
Thank you. And Melissa.
Hi, my name is Melissa Crockett. I'm pretty new to the county, and I'm in the county administrator's office.
Welcome, Melissa. Glad to have you here.
Thanks.
Lynette.
Everyone, Lynette Williams with Stand Together Contra Costa. We're part of the Public Defender's Office.
And Dinah. You're on mute.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. Dinah Beckton, District Attorney.
And Doug.
Good afternoon. I'm Doug Leach with the Multi-Faith Action Coalition. I'm no stranger to the Racial Justice Oversight Board, but this is the first time I've attended a diversion subcommittee meeting. And I'll be leaving at 4 for another meeting.
Okay, great. LaShante.
Hi, everyone. My name is LaShante Smith. I work in our school district in West Contra Costa County.
So glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, great. Jill.
Hi there, Jill Ray with Supervisor Candace Anderson's office.
And Noe, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yeah, I'm Noe Godino. I'm one of the community members.
Great, welcome. And Stephanie, last but not least.
Thank you. And Noe is a new member to our job, for those that don't know.
Oh, okay.
Hi, everyone. Stephanie Medley with RISE and also on the Racial Justice Oversight Body.
All right, and I'm Robin Lipetzky, the public defender here.
And just to the point that Stephanie made, so both Noe and LaShante will be joining the Racial Justice Oversight Body starting in January. So they were two of the newest appointed members to the body. So glad to have both of them here.
And hopefully they'll be joining the diversion subcommittee also. That'd be awesome. All right. Okay, public comment on any item not under the jurisdiction of our job or not on the agenda. Is there any public comment? All right, hearing none, since I think we're all here just about anyway. Okay, so approving the record of action from October 15th. Do I have a motion? Has everyone been able to review it?
Motion to approve. A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and who needs to call?
Would you like me to do a roll call for you?
Great, Dante, thank you.
All right, let me get my list here. So I have Melvin Russell.
Yes.
Dinah Beckton.
Present.
I'll take that as a yes.
This is for approving the minutes.
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm here and
You are so present.
Robin Lipetzky.
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't here for that meeting.
Okay. And then Stephanie Medley.
Yes.
All right. Motion carries 3 ayes and 1 abstention.
Thank you, Dante. All right. So now we move on to approving the definition of diversion. And so that's on page 3 of the packet. And hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review the work that was done. And since I missed the last meeting, I was really thrilled to see the progress that was made on this. This is great. Great. Has everybody reviewed page, is it page 3 or is it page 8? Oh, it's attachment 3.
Yeah.
Attachment 2. So there's 2 different versions. Is one just a cleaned up?
Yeah, one shows the edits that were made from last month.
Yeah.
So the blue lined version, I guess.
Yeah.
And then there's the one that's the clean version without any edits in there.
Okay.
So you'd be approving the clean version, but we didn't want to highlight the changes that were made for the committee to kind of focus in on.
So does anybody on the committee have comments about the updated version? So I just had a couple of sort of wordsmithing things that I'd like to throw out there for clarity's sake. But first I want to say I just think this is great. I really love it. I think it's really captured everything we wanted to capture. On number 2, under objections and standards, where it says punishment, it says programs should use incentives as a primary approach to encourage participation and completion, with punishment used as a last response for unsuccessful completion. So I think in many diversion programs, there is actually no punishment that comes from screwing up on diversion. Actually, what happens is you get kicked out and then you go and get prosecuted. So I think it might make sense to reword that to say, in lieu of punishment, just use the phrase unsuccessful termination or prosecution, because those are actually the consequences of not following through with the program. How does that sit with people?
You said unsuccessful prosecution.
No,
and what?
I'm sorry, unsuccessful termination or prosecution. So it would say programs should use incentives as a primary approach to encourage participation completion with, or I guess maybe with termination from the program or prosecution used as a last response.
I can go with that.
I'm not a member, but I think that's a really great addition. And in light of that addition, I would say I really appreciate the work that's been done on this. As the person who was kind of holding out and sending it back and saying, wait a minute, let's write exactly what we want to see. I think you guys, I think if I'm not mistaken, particularly Stephanie and Chief Bisa, I think you guys worked on this and you did a really good job of capturing all that. So I would echo what Robin just said, but other than that, and I'm not looking to close the floor if anybody else has anything to say, but I'm pretty happy with it if you make that change that Robin just suggest it because I think it makes a lot of sense.
Any other comments on that change?
I appreciate it too, because I think on that part, we were trying to figure out how to say it. And I don't know, our brains may have been mushed by that point too. But
yeah. Sometimes, you know, just another set of eyes. Just, yeah. And then there's, and in paragraph 5, towards the bottom where it says, the diversion program should provide substantial and ongoing support to its participants to limit their ability to resume their legal process. I would propose taking out that phrase and just substituting the phrase to limit prosecution for behaviors that don't. So just substitute the word prosecution for resuming the legal process. Does that make sense? I just thought the phrasing was a little bit, I wasn't sure exactly what it meant. Resuming the legal process could kind of encompass a lot of different things, but I think what you're trying to get at is we don't want them prosecuted. I'm on a call. Can I talk later? Okay, bye.
So could you say that one more time? What
Yeah, so it would read, this is what it would read. On the bottom, I'm starting with the last couple of lines. And thus, diversion program should provide substantial and ongoing support to its participants to limit prosecution for behaviors that don't themselves amount to violations of the law.
And Stephanie's put in the chat, yay, to that.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Moving right along then. The beginning of number 6. This is just a use of language issue. There's a reference to the criminal justice policy or program. I in my practice, I'm trying to get away from using the term criminal justice system and instead using the term criminal legal system. And I would recommend we make that change here. Yeah, I know Cheryl isn't here. Oh, Cheryl is here. I'm going to echo Cheryl's words matter. Hi, Cheryl.
Hello.
I think we put it at the beginning of it, and so we just need to be consistent.
Yeah, no, I like it. I was going to agree with you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And then the only other change I had was that it's just a grammar thing. Programs participants at the end of paragraph 6 should have a possessive in there, or it should just be program participants.
So you're saying an apostrophe S?
Yep. Or S apostrophe, or just.
Oh yeah, or S apostrophe. Yeah, probably. Got it.
I love word flipping over again. It's so fun.
Tell me which one would you suggest, Robin?
What would I suggest? I would just cut off the S and leave it at program participants.
Got it.
So any other comments? Cheryl's joined us now. Cheryl, do you want to introduce yourself quickly, and do you want to show your smiling face? We all did introductions before you came on. And we have some new folks.
Yeah, I saw Noe and I saw somebody else, but Cheryl said it. I am who I am. I am I am here representing, well, I'm on the steering committee for the Racial Justice Coalition. I do a whole lot around the community. And you're not going to make me say all of that, are you?
No, you say exactly what you want to say, and no more and no less.
Yes, I am here mainly because I want to be here. And I feel the work is important. And today I'm going to be here to listen, but my contribution is mainly just to keep us grounded in exactly what Ms. Robin said. Words matter, and make sure that we keep the most impacted people foremost. But today I do have a physical therapy at 4, so I will be there, and I will have my earbud in, so I may be listening mostly and maybe not talking after 4.
Sorry to interrupt. I think a lot of people seem to have to jump out at 4, so maybe we'll. Hey, Bisa.
Yeah, I may be listening, but not talking. So, thank you.
All right.
I apologize for my lateness, everybody.
Well, I've been stumbling along waiting for you, so I'm going to pass the baton. We just got through discussing the updated revised version of Diversion. I made a couple of wording suggestions that I think people agreed to, and so that's where we are.
Okay, so
much thanks to you and Stephanie for hammering out this version. It's fantastic.
It was all Stephanie, so much thanks to Stephanie for hammering out this version. Thank you, Stephanie. And thanks for whatever word changes you made, Robin. Are we ready to vote on it?
Unless there's any further discussion.
Any further discussion? Can you read what the new version is?
Dante,
Up to change it. I did capture it. So I don't know if you have it in front of you. So there were 2 versions in the agenda packet. One was the redlined version, followed by just the clean version. But the first change was in, but all of these are under the second part, the objectives and standards. So the first one was in the paragraph 2. And the idea was to, instead of using the word punishment, wanted to say after a person's termination from the program or prosecution. So they're not punished, but what actually happens is that either they get terminated from the program or they're prosecuted for the offense. So that was the first change. And then the next one was paragraph 5. So paragraph 5. So instead of about on the 3rd line where it says limit their ability to resume the legal process, instead of that say to limit prosecution for behaviors that don't themselves amount to violations of the law. The next change, there were 2 changes in paragraph 6. The first one was instead of using criminal justice, call it the criminal legal system policy. And then the last were at the 2 words at the end, change the word programs to be singular, program participants. Did I capture all those correctly, Robin?
You did.
All right, any further discussion on the new version? And are we ready to vote on this version? Well, I should ask, I guess, is there a motion to move this version?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Go with Cheryl for the second. Thank you, Cheryl. Dante, who does the roll call now?
I will do the roll call. Are you ready for that, Madam Chair?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So Melvin Russell.
Yes.
Dinah Beckton.
Yes.
Robin Lipetzky,
Yes.
Stephanie Medley,
Yes.
Cheryl Sutter,
Yes, sir.
Bisa French.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimous.
All right.
Unanimous, I guess.
I know that took a few months, but I think we have a good definition, working definition now. The next thing on the agenda is to discuss the collected information regarding local diversion programs. And just looking at the information that's provided, it's not a lot. I do have some additional information from the Richmond PD in conjunction with PAL program that I can talk about, but so there were 4 things that we were trying to get for the programs that are in that work right now, or 4 programs that are I can't think of the word. The 4 programs that are going are all of the diversion programs that are going on right now. There are 4 things that we're looking at. What were the costs of the programs? What does success look like? Data on who enrolled, those who completed the program successfully and those who didn't, and the reasons for failure, and enrollment data desegregated by race and gender if possible. So if we start with the District Attorney Restorative Justice Program with RISE, I'll let someone from that program talk about the information. Either RISE or maybe DA Becton.
Yeah, I think this is information. We received this from Stephanie, I believe. You know, it was compiled by Monica, so I believe it was Stephanie, though. I'm using my 6-week memory here, so so forgive me if I misspoke, Steph.
Yeah, it was, but I don't know, Dinah, if you want to add anything.
Is it possible to put it on the screen? I think I had originally said something in, but I don't remember what it was either. If you could share the screen, it would be great.
I think they're talking about page 12 of the agenda packet. Do you have that?
Okay, let me go and try to find it again. I usually don't, I printed it out, but I don't have the whole packet printed, but I'll find it. It was from you, right, Dante?
It was.
Okay. Let me just give me a sec. Coming up.
You got the music in you.
What the word?
As I got older, I started asking questions.
Party time.
My mother wasn't perfect and she made a lot of bad choices, but she was still my mother. And I had to do what I had to do to find justice for her. Who knows how many other victims he's taken? Who knows how many other moms he's taken from their little.
Dante, can you mute her?
Everybody around me.
I can mute myself.
You may
for
not.
sure.
Well, what I can start off with, so those numbers are actually, we've gotten some more referrals. I think we've gotten about 10 more referrals since those original numbers that I sent to Monica. I think, well, I'm not actually sure if you all know, we've actually expanded. So we're not just providing services for young people in West County, but we're providing services for young people across the county. So we are receiving cases in Central and East County, from Central and East County. I thought we had given some of those demographics where the young people were from, but I guess we did not. But I mean, everything is pretty self-explanatory. You know, this is a new program, so we don't have that much data on it. I'm thinking it probably won't be until sometime next year where we can get a little bit more data around how successful it's been. What I can share from RISE, we actually did an end of season survey with some of the young people that we support, and some of those young people were participants in the Restore program, which is our restorative justice diversion program. And a lot of the feedback that the young people gave from that was that they appreciated the program because it provided them with tools to cope with the different things and think about their actions before they do things. They saw how they could use restorative practices in other areas of their life. And so we're starting to get some really good feedback. Also, we've gotten some good feedback from some of the persons harmed that have participated in the program, which is exciting that this is impacting them in a positive way. And then some of the community folks that have been participating in the ultimate circles that we have with the young people. So we've had some folks from Catholic Charities participate as a community member. We've had some teachers from some of the local high schools participate as a community member. So far it's been a really good process.
All right, thank you. DA Becton, were you ready to add anything? All right, not hearing anything from DA Becton. I'll move on to the Richmond PD diversion program. And I had to get the information, so I'm sorry I didn't provide it beforehand. We've had 2 cohorts. We started a pilot program. We've had 3 classes, but I was only able to get the information from 2 of them. There's no cost for our program. What does success look like? And we look at recidivism rates, and we were able to look at all of the young people that went through our program, and none of the students that have gone through have reoffended. So that's what success looks like for us. Out of the 2 programs, we've had 12 students and only 1 of them failed to complete the program. Actually, that was the one that, there was one that reoffended. That was the one that reoffended and didn't show up for the program. And that student ultimately relocated out of the area. So we did not follow through with pushing the case into the criminal justice system. And then the data between race and gender, we've had 5 Black male juveniles, 3 Black female juveniles, 1 white male juvenile, 1 Hispanic male juvenile, and 2 Pacific Islander or Asian juveniles. And that's what I have on the Richmond PD diversion program. And then the COPS program, I know that there was a little bit of information that was provided, and I'm not sure where that was provided from. That's on the last page of their handout.
Yeah, so this came from probation, and I can let Melvin give more details on that, but essentially they didn't really collect data, so they kind of have more of a narrative in terms of the number of young people who have gone in that program, because that's used for a variety of youth. So, but I'll let Melvin give details about that if he wants.
Yeah, and just looking at it, as we did a deeper dive into COPS, we found that really the majority of the cases that go through COPS are sentenced by the court. So out of the 79 youth that it looks like from January of 19 to March of 20, only 12 of those would have been from referrals coming into the probation department and the PO then routing it over to COPS, and completion basically, I believe it's a 2-hour class on a Saturday. So if they went and completed the class, then we would just take the referral that was sent over and then close it out instead of sending it over to the DA. And talking with the supervisor, all 8 of the referrals for COPS, they completed. And then the other 4 referrals as part of Start Smart, which is a CHP sort of DUI course that's completely online now. And so it's similar with that. I think the Start Smart is free. So when we send that over, and COPS, I think COPS is $25. It may be a sliding scale, but I think the last that I remember, it's $25. And when we reached out to them because of the pandemic, no one's really been able to get back to us, and we don't necessarily track sort of the demographics of race of referrals that we send over.
Thank you, Melvin. So even though we had a large list of different diversion programs throughout the county, doesn't seem like we have a lot of information about those programs. And I'm not even sure that the information that we asked for actually helps us with what we're trying to do. I don't know if anybody else has a take on that. I guess, you know, looking at what success looks like and who enrolled in the programs, that can be helpful, but I think we have to figure out a way to dive a little bit deeper. I don't know if anybody else has any comments about the information.
Just if I could go back to the restorative justice. Hi, this is Dinah speaking. Sorry, I couldn't get myself off of mute fast enough, but I don't have anything to add. I think it looks great. Thank you.
Excuse me. May I ask about the cost for the Restore program? Like if someone could speak to that and who pays that or how that is taken care of for each case?
Yeah, so I think it was my understanding, you know, this agenda was put together for last month. And I think that what happened is, you know, that is how much it costs to run the program, but not what people pay, right? And so because of the project, is that?
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. For all of Verizon services, there is no cost to young people.
Right. So yeah, it's the expense of the program versus the cost to people participating.
Okay, that's
District Attorney's Office receives a $1 million grant. So that funds basically the program and the services. So the individuals do not pay any money.
So I probably misunderstood the question when I was giving the Richmond PD data. There's no cost obviously for the participants, but obviously there's a cost to run the program.
And I don't think we clarified that. I think that when the question was asked, we just said, how much does it cost? Does the program cost? And it could be interpreted either way, but I think that the way that you originally interpreted it in terms of how much do people pay is probably what was intended, because that's one of the values in our diversion piece, right? Is that people won't be, you know, money is not a barrier, essentially.
Well, with that in mind, we should probably delete the 7,000, the costs associated with restorative justice.
Or clarify it with a similar statement, like RPD has. So, Madam Chair, to your point, I think part of the issue that we have is, you know, it's going to be resolved as we're able to get more data generally as the RJOB, because we want to, if at all possible, cross-reference some of this information with people who are coming into the system and figure out if there are folks who should have been eligible for diversion who are not getting diverted for some reason, what that reason is, straighten that out. So I think that's a part of the puzzle that's sort of missing for us right now. So while we're getting information directly from programs who can't really give us that sort of information, like we can't know that. I do think, to the extent that we can get underlying offense information to cross-reference it with, when we are able to get that you know, sort of system entry data, that would be helpful as well.
So I'm just wondering, for the people that are actually on this committee, like Melvin and Stephanie, myself, DA Becton, Robin, some of the people that have access to this information, I mean, is it possible for us to be able to get the information and provide that underlying offense for anybody? I mean, for anyone that's come through Richmond PD, I should be able to get that information. But that's, again, just Richmond PD. I don't know about other agencies. And I guess that's where we would have to go. DA's office, maybe, since, or if a case goes to the DA's office, but if it doesn't go to the DA's office, obviously they won't have that information.
I think, well, if the question is, can we provide the underlying offense? The answer is yes. I mean, it comes to us first, and then we make the referral to RISE. So we will know that, and I suspect RISE will know it as well, unless Stephanie has any concern about sharing that information. And we're just talking about sheer numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah, we
identifying information.
Absolutely not, right? We don't need that.
Yeah, I think it's easy for law enforcement agencies to be able to provide this. I don't know what the level of participation from other agencies. I can't speak for other law enforcement agencies other than myself, but I'm willing to provide the information or provide it for our next meeting, what the underlying offenses are.
Yeah, it may be a little bit of a struggle for probation because, well, let me find out, because I have to see how did they break down the 79. If we're able to actually identify, the 12 coming from us and not from the court. I'll have to talk to the supervisor and see how they actually track that.
The other thing I would say is, so obviously part of this group's charge is to develop recommendations for both adult and youth diversion. And I think reading those words, some of us, we probably really wanted to be very specific and drill down and say you should have this kind of program and all of these sorts of things that maybe, at least at this point, and I'm not giving up on these things, I'm just saying we have some information now with which we could at least begin to compile some recommendations that would be a living document, much like, the definition, right? That stuff might start off a little general, like we would recommend that all diversion programs collect these data points on a consistent basis and report them. Or we would recommend that there be more partnership with community-based organizations which house diversion programs in Contra Costa, right? Like those are still recommendations. As we get more information, we can flesh those out more to the extent that there are details and more sophisticated understanding of what's going on, but those are starting points. So it's not like at this point we don't know anything or we can't have an impact in a valuable way. Again, that would just be the starting point. It wouldn't be that we finish, that'd be our recommendations full stop and we leave it, but that's a place to start. And that I think could help us to figure out sort of what information we need going forward and if that information is available. If it's not, then our recommendations might be a little basic to start. And then once that information starts to come in, this is something that could be revisited. So just pointing that out too.
Madam Chair, I also just wanted to recognize that Cheryl has her hand up.
Cheryl, go ahead.
I'm looking at the question about what success looks like, and also just dovetailing on what Christopher is talking about. And I'm thinking that, when we're talking about costs of programs and, irrespective of talking about, I get it, there's no cost to the participants, but looking at this from another angle, since we're talking about success, and we should always be talking about what does it look like for the participant? What does the success look like for the participant, and keeping them out of this criminal legal system? If there's the ultimate goal, right? And helping them, helping impacted people grow and what is their ultimate goal? What does success look like for them? And I think taking some of the information that Ms. Bisa just gave us on the participants, even the ones that you just told us about coming through the Richmond PD program, I think that looking at it from that angle, what is the cost if we don't have diversion programs, right? And so that's what I always look at when people ask me about it. What's the return on investment of investing in young people, or investing in people who we keep out of the criminal legal system? I would like to take it from maybe that angle, and then saying how diversion programs are helping. So this investment in people, the $1 million grant that the Becton just spoke about, yields XYZ. It has yielded us so much more, and it is saving people's lives, and it's saving this other money on the other end. So maybe we can look at it from that end, and instead of, you know, always putting a price tag on people, maybe we put a different, look at it from a different lens. I mean, I hope you guys can understand what I'm saying. Thank you.
Thank you.
I definitely agree with that, Cheryl, because that is how we should be looking at things. This kind of goes back to what I was saying about, just speaking specifically about the Restore program. So right now, that's why I shared some of the comments that some of the young people have made about the program. Right now, because it is so new, some of that information we still have to wait on, but that is some of the data that we'll be collecting for this particular program. And so, I mean, I think as a committee, what we could do when we're talking about, you know, some of the criteria that a diversion program should have, that should be part of that criteria that we make.
And maybe that's what maybe that's what our goals should be. I mean, Christopher just mentioned our recommendations. I mean, our recommendations could be, you know, programs that yield these type of results instead of, you know, programs X, right? Maybe it doesn't name a particular program, but it names programs that yield X results, such as the Richmond Police Department's program that has seen success in, and then talk about these particular group, or the RISE program that has this group, or the COPS program, and then just talk about, and you can talk about limited success because they are new programs. I mean, it doesn't have to have, you know, the anecdotal success of a new program is acceptable in this particular circumstance, right, Christopher? Or am I not speaking, you know, wrong? I don't know.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And I also thought, you know, before you clarified, I thought what I was hearing is, you know, to try to the extent that we can, and I think this is what Stephanie was speaking to as well, quantify the value or the cost avoided from, say, the justice side. I think any of that, to the extent that it could be done without making too much work or, you know, being a Herculean effort, would all be important. So yeah, trying to define program values and quantify them in a way that we can actually see, I think makes a lot of sense. And I think also, to your earlier point, Cheryl, talking about what does success mean to participants, it reminds me something else that that we might want to add to a draft list of recommendations to be, maybe it becomes a standing agenda item for a while, something that we look at to see what's on it and how we would change it, would be creating a feedback loop for participants, right? Even if you completed the program or even if you didn't, is there a way to get in touch? Is there a way for the program to get in touch to figure out what went right, what went wrong, an exit interview, a survey? Like, is there a way for us to get feedback from people who've been through these programs to figure out what's working or what recommendations that might yield? Those direct conversations with people who participated.
Exactly.
So I think Dante put that I think I forgot to do public comment after the definition of diversion. So I'm going to go back and do that. Was there any public comment about the finalized definition? All right, seeing no hand up. Doug.
Yeah, I was going to make a comment, but since you didn't call, I think it wasn't all that important. But since now you've asked, I did want to thank you for paying attention to that definition with its objectives and standards. As a non-expert on diversion programs, I found it informative and was actually able to learn something about diversion just from what was laid out there. And I wanted to particularly lift up the last item listed under objectives and standards. That performance objectives for all diversion programs shall include reducing existing racial inequities in the legal system. I think it's very important that and good that you included that, because that goes right back to the whole purpose of the Racial Justice Task Force and this oversight body that has followed it on it. It's all about finding ways to reduce racial inequities. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you. I don't see any other hands raised. So we were discussing the information collected regarding the local diversion programs. And with that, we kind of moved into the next steps also. I think we've kind of been talking hand in hand about both of them. So let's really formally open it up about next steps. Now that we have this limited information, and Chris has already started talking about what some of our next steps can be in terms of recommendations. Does anybody else have any input on where they would like to see us going from here? It's a quiet bunch.
I think it might be a good idea to recap the stuff that we just said in this section, right? So we heard from Madam Chair, as well as Melvin, I believe, as well as DA Becton, I think, are all going to check on getting underlying information about the offense that led to a person coming into a diversion program. So if we have that in January, that'll give us a different lens to look at these things with. At the same time, I don't have any problem with drafting recommendations along the lines of what I just said for you guys to look at and to wordsmith or cut up or do whatever, because we're going to have them for a while before they go anywhere. We just, there are some things that we do know that we can start to, make some recommendations on, and they may get more sophisticated as we get more information. So we'll do that. The last thing I would point out to folks is, as we're asking these programs to do stuff, we're going to need to be able to support them in doing that in some ways, right? Like if we can provide a template that would make sense to use, that might make it a little bit easier to collect some of the stuff things like that, just let's all be thinking about how we can support them in that effort, as opposed to just showing up and saying, hey, we need you to do more, or we need, you know, you to use your same staff and the same hours and same budget and get something else done for us. And please chime in if I missed any next steps besides the ones I mentioned.
I think that template idea is a great one, because then we would also be more likely to get consistent information if we're asking everybody the same questions, and they can just fill in the blanks and then make it easier too.
I would add just recommendation wise, like, you know, we have diversion program here, one with Rise that we need to get up and going again. And then the one that we're also doing in-house with Richmond Powell. But really, when we're asking, if we're going to be asking law enforcement agencies that if they have diversion or if they're referring to diversion, to talk about the point of equality and to Doug's point about making sure that we're reducing the racial inequities. I think being able to compare, like for say, all of the arrests that we have, and I'm just going to use young people for an example. If we took all of the data for the people that young people we've arrested and compared it with the people that we sent to diversion, and looking at the data as to why we didn't send the others, would be really helpful information to make sure that we're reducing those inequities. You know, I can commit to doing that for my agency, of course. But I'm not sure, again, about other law enforcement agencies around the county, but I think that information will be telling and really helpful for us to really put in procedures and policies in place so that that doesn't happen in the future.
That would be extremely helpful. If there are any other agencies who could help us with that one would be really, really helpful for sure.
Along those same lines, I also think that if we're going to be in this collaborative spirit, it also would be helpful to, you know, invite them to these meetings. You know, there's a spirit of partnership, and people feel like if you're just asking them for something, but you're not inviting them to actually participate, then we're always asking. But I would like to invite people to come and share what they do, explain to us what they do, and then we can have an open dialogue and a shared understanding of diversity and their diversity programs and what they do and how they do it. And this is a public meeting, so the public can also come and understand and ask questions. So I think in that light, that would be a big help. And so we're not talking about people in the third person. We're actually looking at each other and speaking and working in true partnership. I might not speak too much more, you guys. I have PT right now, so I wanted to get that in.
Thank you, Cheryl.
You're welcome. I'll be listening though.
Okay. All right, so I think we have a few next steps. Any other input? All right, hearing none. Seeing no hands raised, make sure. Okay, no hands raised. I'll open it up to public comment. And again, I don't see any hands raised. And nobody's waving to get my attention. All right, so Chris, you're gonna type up some of this information for our next meeting on January 21st. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
Last thing I'll just say, this is not dealing with any of that, but just a reminder that we have been recording these meetings, and so we'll try to get the recordings up by the end of the day tomorrow. We do have to kind of download them and then we convert them over to YouTube, and so it takes a little bit of time, not a ton of time, but we'll try to have that up tomorrow. So it should be, I believe, in the same place as the agenda once we upload it. So.
I wanted to give one quick update. I don't know if this came up at the meeting last whenever it was that I missed, but there is a new law that goes into effect January 1st, which allows for misdemeanor diversion on any case, any misdemeanor that the court wants to divert. And it does not require the agreement of the district attorney. And so, not that our district attorney would necessarily object, but the point being that the court has the authority to divert really any misdemeanor case. And the purpose for that legislation was to deal with the backlog of misdemeanor cases that have been piling up during COVID, when cases have not really been moving through the system because the trials have all been on hold for the most part. And so we have already started planning in our office on sort of categories of cases that we're going to be asking the court to divert under that new legislation. And I'm hoping that by our time of our next meeting, I'll be able to report in on how successful that effort has been.
To that end, Dante, do we have our new court representative on the body?
We do. The name is escaping me at the moment. It's, I believe, M&M is the.
I remember him showing up.
Matt Malone, I think is his name. I just remember seeing 2 M's. Matt Malone, though.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I asked because that sounds like. It sounds like, particularly as we're talking about having folks here, which Cheryl mentioned, which I think is a great idea. Just if we could have that person, to the extent that they may not be aware of diversion programs or how they could be utilized, show up to hear some of that information, it could be helpful. So with that, I would just say, to the extent that we're going to get folks to show up here, that's going to require us to reach out to people and ask them to do so. So as we're working on trying to get this additional information, particularly if that information is kind of, slowly coming in or not coming in very much, you might want to turn your attention over the next, starting January 1st, to be honest, or, somewhere shortly after that, you might want to turn your attention to reaching out to folks if you have connections to see if they could make an upcoming meeting soon to talk about their programs.
Okay. I actually just had one thing. Does this meeting show up on everybody's calendar?
Shows up on
At one point they were, but this was not on my calendar, so I apologize again for being late. Dante, can you guys send out the calendar appointment for this?
Yeah, we can. So it was on mine, and Monica was doing those, and I don't know if she's now transitioned over to the CAO's office, back to the CAO's office, and so I think I just assumed when it was on mine that was the same invite that went out to everybody. So I apologize about that, and this was literally the last meeting on out of her agenda. So going forward, we'll make sure that we do that. So.
All right, I appreciate it. All right.
No problem.
If there's nothing further, we can adjourn. All right.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah. Bye, everyone. Have a good holiday season.